What's up, sons? It's Blind Rod with Son of a Tech once again, and one of my favorite series is currently on midweek madness sale over on Steam, and that's going to be the Batman series, the Batman Arkham series in particular. And today what I wanted to do was a little bit of a special video. Back when it initially launched, this game actually required quite a bit of horsepower, and that's going to be Arkham Origins. And unfortunately that prevented a lot of people from building a reasonable system and playing at 1080p 60 FPS with max settings enabled. So today, with all the new hardware that we got and a lot of the prices dropping, or basically more cores for less money and so on, I decided to come back and revisit it and give you guys a build. And not per usual, we aren't going to actually go just build a theoretical one. We're gonna build one with the parts I got right here, which is actually my test bench, and the GPU is right behind me right here. So after looking at some benchmarks, now they didn't include any Pascal benchmarks, I think we can use this 1063 gigabyte back here along with my 8350K over there and get max settings 1080p 60 FPS. Let's find out. Alrighty, so to get things started off, let's take a look at the star of the show over here. And sorry, we're gonna go super vlog style because this is a midweek madness sale along with a midweek madness video because, I don't have time to do the B-roll. So this is a GTX 1063 gigabyte from MSI. It is the Aero edition, and you can typically pick them up for around $189 to $199. While there are some that are priced better and or the same, I highly recommend avoiding the EVGA. Now you might say, you don't know what you're talking about. Have you ever owned a GTX 1063 gigabyte from EVGA? And yes, I have. Now, the one that runs in this price range is the single fan version, and as opposed to this one, it runs 20 degrees Celsius hotter, and that's over a sample size of about 6 GPUs, while these is my only sample size is 2, but both of them ran at about 67C max load, and that was while mining. So way better cooler, same price. Grab that one. It'll be linked for you guys to go check out. I'll try to link a couple different options or purchasing areas for you guys to check it out. There could be some other options as well. There are dual fan options. Just go ahead and shop well. So the next thing that we have here is the rest of the test bench. We are going to be pulling this RX Vega 64 out, of course, and we have some Corsair Dominator Platinum 3200 megahertz. I recommend going down to 2666 and saving some money. However, we are going to have all of the parts that we're actually using in the video description, and all of them run at current price, even with the overpriced MSI on Amazon right now, about $1,000. So yes, not a super cheap system, but it gets the job done and is actually something you'll see real world results for, and I'm not messing with you. So here is the Freezer 33 CPU cooler. Now I am delidded, but we're downclocked to 4.8 gigahertz, which you should be able to achieve with this cooler. Now over here we have an M.2 drive. It's just a very basic 256 gigabyte. And down in here, the hot swappable is going to be just a 2 terabyte drive that we load our games on. If we can get it back in. Well, we'll worry about that later. And in the case is the Cooler Master XB Evo, which runs about $100. And the power supply I can't really show you, but it's a Cooler Master CX750M. So that is literally all the parts in here. You can pick them up with the affiliate links, of course, in the description below, and purchase them. But first, let's go ahead and shut this baby down, which is my Ryzen 5 2400G. And let's get this test bench installed and see if it's working. Be right back. Okay, so first thing we want to do is uninstall the old AMD drivers. I actually have a fresh new copy of DDU installed over here, so we're gonna go ahead and get that done. Oh, it says there's an update. It's fine, it's fine. The update's not that new, it'll be okay. Oh, And then Windows is installing our driver, of course, which is fun. But we are going to go ahead and clean and restart the AMD driver off of there and then get the latest driver from NVIDIA because, yeah. Now, a couple of things about this build that you don't want to short out on. The amount of memory. 16 gigabytes is going to feel a lot better than 8, especially with Windows 10 and opening some Chrome tabs. The other thing is you don't want to short out on the motherboard. If you're going to be going with the 8350K, you need a Z motherboard, so you're going to need to pick that up, and it allows you a good upgrade path in the future. That being said, I would probably recommend for this exact build to drop down to a Ryzen 3 1200 because the clocks that are basically shown in what I've seen is on basically stock i5 CPUs without an overclock. This game will perform just fine. So I would save some money there, if anywhere, and that could actually save you a couple $100 because the 8350K is a little bit more expensive and the Z board is more expensive than a B board from AMD. So overall, like I said, this is a non-theoretical build. I don't have those parts, so we're showing you an exact example. If you want to be sure of how to play this game, exactly as you see here, then you will want to basically copy all of these settings. All right, final step, we actually do need to install the game. So let's go find it. And in case you guys didn't believe me, I have 47 hours just in this game on Steam, not to mention the rest of what I got going on as far as playing on console, because I have played on console. But we're gonna install it on the actual disk drive, which is not fast, but keeping in mind that you're most likely going to be using the M.2 SATA or the SATA SSD for your OS. We don't want to utilize too much of it, and I want to show you guys actual performance as it would be if I was installing the games in my preferred method in this build. Okay, so the game is building up. Now, that disk drive noise for you kiddos might not be something you're used to. It's what happens when you go a little bit of budget. At the same time, as games get larger and larger, it's really hard to justify paying for the fast storage for them. Even as cheap as SSDs have gotten, you can still get, for example, in my main rig, I actually have a 4 terabyte just for games. And I still can't install all the games I own. Side note, I actually bought a 4 terabyte hard drive with the intention of installing every game I owned. The fatal flaw there is I bought it to install every game I owned at the time, and so that kind of blew up in my face. I think we need like an 8 terabyte. Alrighty, so we have finally gotten the game installed. Woohoo! And we are going to go ahead and hop in the game. Pretty simple stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Why do these tech tubers get paid all this money? Okay, so right off the bat, not looking too great. It's defaulted us into some awkward resolution. It doesn't look 1080 to me, but we'll see. I've gotten so used to different settings. So you see this splash screen, and this is why I'm going to recommend not even bothering with AMD at this point. I know that the RX 580 4 gig is a better buy. However, sometimes with console ports like these, if it's NVIDIA way it's meant to be played, I feel like we'll just have a better bet with this. Let me try to back up here. It's going to make me load in. That's fine. Okay, so hopping into the options, we're gonna run the base benchmark and then we'll hop out and see some other stuff that's going on. But let's hop into the graphics options. We are at 1080p. We have VSync on. We're gonna turn that off so we can see the absolute worst case scenario. And with this, we can actually use GeForce TX AA, which is why picking the GTX card is going to be preferred for this particular title. We are going to use the DX11 Enhanced. We're going to crank all of these up as high as possible, even leaving motion blur on, which I probably wouldn't. We'll use the DX11 enhanced depth of field, sure. We're going to go to ambient occlusion, use the DX11 enhanced, sure. So the only thing that is turned off, as you can see here, and everything else is turned up as high as possible, is going to be VSync, and that's so that we can see what the actual FPS is at. Now we see the GPU bump right up and we're good to go. So the next thing that I want to do is go ahead and restart the game. And the reason I want to do this is to make sure that we actually have all of the settings applied. Okay, so you can see here that obviously it did change the settings that we had, because now we're sitting around that 30 FPS, but I believe all cutscenes are technically 30 FPS, thinking back. So I think our gameplay is going to be fine. Okay, so going back into options, we'll see that in the menu screen we're sitting at about 94 frames per second, which is pretty cool. We're going to hit the benchmark. This is the canned benchmark, and we'll talk a little bit more about why this doesn't actually work properly for this game, for this title. Part of it is that they didn't really take into account the amount of CPU utilization that it did have in the open world sections. But taking a look here, we're at 1080p, max settings, plenty of headroom, almost worthy, well, pretty much worthy of a 120 hertz screen. So if you want to bump up your experience, you could invest in a 120 hertz screen. Pretty cool. It does look like they fixed a lot of their CPU utilization. It seems to be balanced across all 4 cores there, which is awesome. You'll see here that at stock, no overclock applied. The GPU is running at 63 degrees Celsius. The percent usage is at 100% or 99%. We have a 1936 megahertz boost clock, which is awesome. Like I said, this, for the form factor in a single fan, this GPU is seriously impressive. We're at about 1 volt, and the memory we're using is about 1.2 gigabytes of actual memory, and that is clocked at 4007 megahertz. And all of the CPU cores are running at 4.8 gigahertz, which is easily attainable on the 8350K. Okay, so the benchmark run here, you can see we had a minimum FPS of 94 with a max of 160 and an average of 127.96. So all things being equal, I would say that we pretty much have doubled my expectations for the GTX 1063 gigabyte in this game, along with, of course, the total system as a whole. So if you want to play Batman Arkham Origins, this is going to be the way to do it. However, we need to do one more test, and we need to actually go into game itself, into the open world, and play around with it. I got a controller here because I'm a pleb, and that's the way I play this type of game. Best tool for whatever you're actually doing. And then we're going to actually do a benchmark run in a real world, open world game test for Arkham Origins. Okay, so we're in the open world now. And basically, I can't remember how to play this because it's been that long. What is it? Is it double tap A? We're gonna fly around the city. Try to make sure that everything we're doing is proper. You can see the FPS up in the top corner. There we go. Now we're kind of flying the way you would start seeing some issues previously. There's the dips. So you see those dips happening, and they aren't going below 60. So if you locked it at 60, you would be fine. However, I don't think that what you want to do is run a 120 hertz screen. Well, of course, the more the better, but lock the frame rate. I don't think it'll lock at 120 though. I think the perfect screen for this would be a 75 hertz screen, something like the Acer Predator 1080p 75 hertz monitor. For about $120, which I'll link as well in the description for you guys, would be a perfect match for this build. in total, with all of the parts, if you copied everything and didn't take my advice on dropping the cost of it, which of course I wouldn't if I saw this, probably I'd want to go exactly with what it was at. What I would do there from that point out is essentially buy that monitor, and you would be at about $1,200 with the monitor and have a great experience. Okie dokie, boys, there's my vlog style of the best system that you can run, basically Batman Arkham Origins. I kind of like this idea of picking a midweek madness game. If you guys think that it's a good idea, let me know in the comment section below. I had a ton of fun making this video. The overall kind of, I guess, conclusion for this video would be that, of course, this system performed a lot better than I expected it to. My analyzation was due to older benchmarks with older GPUs, and I just compared, you know, the GTX 1060 3GB to basically a GTX 970 at the time. I think it was a 970, maybe it was a 960, something like that, something along the lines where I saw it was like basically getting 60 FPS. There's a few things that have changed. Optimization for the game has improved immensely, so that helps a lot. The other things that have changed, of course, is going to be just the basic technology behind it, and that is going to be on the Pascal GPU side, where you don't have to get i5s anymore. We can get i3s or Ryzen 3s. Awesome news on that. And you can enjoy one of the best open world beat 'em up games that I've ever played, and go check out the rest of the series as well. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, check out all the parts in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you head on over to the Discord if you want to discuss some more games, because that's super awesome. And come watch my live streams. I do play a lot of games, primarily Warframe, over and over and over. But until then, I'll see you next Tuesday.